Our conversations continue here at Davos 2023. Joining me on the program now is Rajesh Gopinathan of TCS. Rajesh, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us. Well, the world hasn't changed since you announced your numbers, fortunately. But, you know, just in terms of a mood check, my reading of the conversations that I've been having here is that it's not as pessimistic as one thought it would be coming into the event. Is that your sense as well?
First of all, Shireen, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us here. And as you said, the mood is definitely much more optimistic. In fact, when we came out with our numbers, I had said that our individual conversations with customers were a lot more positive than what the overall macro commentary was, and that we're basing it on that. That confidence has got strengthened with the discussions that we are having here. One-on-one, everybody is positive. I would say incrementally what has changed is that the European side, there also the confidence has increased. I don't think that the decision making will immediately...
You had red flagged it as the big challenge.
I said that that is the one where we are not sure about how it will progress. But multiple threats that are emerging here. The opening up of China is a big thing, both from a humanitarian perspective, assuming that they're able to manage that whole opening up well, and then the economic perspective that opens up an export market for the European companies. So that's coming out very strongly as a big thing. Second is, of course, what you've seen around Davos. It's warm Davos. So
yeah.
The flip side is that the energy crisis was not as severe, and that's also playing into a lot of people's perspective in terms of how the year is likely to be.
What is the role that TCS can play as far as this innovation story is concerned? How are you positioning yourself for that?
Shireen, we are the bearers of the flame, right? At a time that nobody was talking about it, we really doubled down on the innovation agenda, significantly upped our investment into research and, more importantly, innovation. And that shows through in the numbers. So if you look at patents, the sheer patent filing that we have far outstrips anything else that happens in the corporate sector in India, captive or non-captive. Today, we have got more than 2,600 granted patents, another 6,000, 7,000 in the pipeline, and we're getting more than one patent granted a day, a calendar day. So it's kind of really ramping up.
And which kind of areas would these be mostly?
It's actually across away. About 70-80% of them are on technology and applied technology, but 20-30% are on areas like materials, areas like new construction. Healthcare is a big component of what is going on. We have, in fact, something in terms of being able to actually take a salival swab and be able to predict preterm delivery, and as a ability to look at that. Similarly, we have done work on genomics, where when you do your viral testing, it only tells you whether there is a viral load or not. It doesn't tell you whether it is on the up cycle or on the down cycle. By combining data science with what's happening on the viral side, we're able to actually model, saying that did you have an infection which is on its way down, right, or are you at an early stage of infection? So there are various areas, lot technology leveraged, but some are in the pure sciences domain and applied sciences domain. And that gives us a lot of,
So what's going to be the next leg of the kind of innovation that you hope to drive? And the next leg of investments as well?
It's about applied innovation and the ability to actually engage in the innovation value chain of an organization. We do a lot of work in areas like refineries. Materials is a big portion of what we are doing. Healthcare is a big portion. Even cosmetics. We have done investments in building what we call digital skin, which kind of simulates how transport happens through the skin layer. So the ability to take something and then to be able to integrate that into the larger value chain of a commercial organization, that's where the excitement lies.
Of course, you moved people to work from home. There is a pullback on that, and that's happening globally as well and within India. What do you believe is going to be the mix going forward? Are you now moving everybody back, or how is it going to work in the future?
So we went out into the remote working in a very extreme situation. We do believe that hybrid is the way, and long term that hybrid, whether it is 50-50, 75-25, 25-75, we need to wait and see. But it is important that it is hybrid within commutable distance. It is not completely remote, because the organizations connect with the individual both digitally, as well as as an organization context of people coming together is a very critical part. So right now we are trying to get back to the mean. The first focus is 3 days in office for a majority of our people, but we are pushing for much more return to office, and we think that's very critical. Also in the context of what happened in terms of the growth, because we added more than 100,000 people over the pandemic, 125, 130,000 people. That's a large chunk even by our standards. So we need to integrate this workforce back and make sure that they are fully integrated with both culture, ethos, as well as the operating models of the company. So during the course of this year, you're going to see systematically us pushing for greater work from office, and towards the later half of the year probably we will start putting in more systematic ways of looking at hybrid work. Our project management systems need to change for that. There are many other operational things that we need to do, which we will be executing towards later half of this year and next year.
It's been what, 5 years now in the CEO seat. What has for you been the most exciting aspect of it, as well as the most challenging aspect of it?
Yeah, it's 6 years actually.
6 years, yes.
Unbelievable, but it's flown by, and that's one of the things that you don't really have as much time as you think, and time goes faster than you thought. It's been kind of broken into the transition, and then 1 or 2 years, and then the pandemic, and then the post-pandemic. But the most important thing is that the organization is critical. So you need to understand the organization that has a longevity much more than anything else, and you got to make sure that you play it day by day, play it a ball at a time, not losing sight of the vision. The good thing is that even with the pandemic, our long-term vision, our long-term journey has remained intact. So that has stood the test of the pandemic, and that's very encouraging. Operationally, tactically, we got to keep on rolling with the punches, as it were.
And lots of punches I anticipated, at least given how volatile things are at this point in time, or is it now, have you built in resilience to deal with it?
Actually, see, leave aside whether the demand will be a few percentage points up or down. I think what we have gone through over the last couple of years, and what you see in the immediate future, of course, there's nothing that there's very surprisingly out there. But it's in the nature of things that it will blindside you. So we got to be, but a lot of confidence in the resilience of the organization, in the ability to deal with it. So quite confident about where it is. I don't think it can be, other than whether the demand is slightly up or down, nothing else that really bothers.
If there is one priority, in terms of outside of the daily bread and butter stuff that you're doing, that you really want to focus on to ensure that you fortify the future of the organization, you talked about, of course, innovation as being one of those drivers. What would it be?
It goes back to innovation, but at a more broader theme. It is about making sure that we articulate the knowledge that we have, and we actually build a business model that monetizes the knowledge. So we have built a very resilient business model that monetizes our effort. We have not, and embedded inside that effort was the knowledge. Now what we are trying to do is to actually externalize that knowledge and make it more visible, and to package it and to try and monetize it higher. I think there is a lot of value capture opportunity that lies ahead, and we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our own teams, because we have been moving mountains, but probably getting credited for the effort rather than the intellect behind what we have done. So focusing on that.
How do you change that perception? And it's a hard thing to do, but how do you change the perception that people have?
It starts first with yourself always. So we have this what we call our AAA strategy: awareness, articulation, amplification. The first step is awareness, that your own self-awareness of what you do, of what you know. So we have had a systematically building that out. We call this contextual masters. We celebrate knowledge internally. So we are actually trying to make people aware of the knowledge that they possess, of the value of that knowledge in context, and systematically helping them articulate that, because that's also a key skill. So once you start, first is awareness, and then once you start articulating it, then you can start amplifying it and then converting it into monetization. So we're taking it step at a time. I don't think we are anywhere near monetization yet, but we are well on the way of awareness. Today, if you look at TCS, the rank and file of TCS is very well attuned to this idea of contextual knowledge, and we now have more than 50,000 people whom we have certified as contextual experts, and we have programs running to bolster that knowledge. So it's an inside-out transformation. I think rather than worry about whether others are acknowledging it, first is you believe in it and you demonstrate it. The acknowledgement from outside will automatically come, I believe.
Well, let me end by asking you about something that a lot of people here are talking about, and that is ChatGPT and whether this actually legitimizes AI. What do you make of it?
Well, that's a tough question. ChatGPT is evolving. We need to understand it in essence. Does it legitimize AI? I don't know. What it does is it tells that AI is not to be trivialized, and it is not some geeky thing, but it will affect our lives a lot sooner than what probably people thought 6 months ago. So we need to be prepared to accept that and integrate that into what we do and who we are. So if you take it from a TCS perspective, we need to think of it as a tool, and we need to make sure that it is integrated into service delivery, and our service delivery morphs to be able to accept that internally. We have done the same thing when it came to automation, but we need to do this again. So that AI is out of the denial mode now. It is there with us. Legitimizing is a different thing. That we'll have to wait and see what the implications of it is, because it sits on the it has the potential to sit on the sum total of human knowledge.
Yes.
And that brings up interesting questions on what would that be. So if it comes through from ChatGPT versus if it is processed by humans after a few years, because ChatGPT can do it a lot faster. What does it do to the human process knowledge versus the ChatGPT process knowledge? Not ChatGPT, generative AI processed knowledge. So it brings up interesting questions on who owns that knowledge.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that it's kind of a cycle coming back full circle. If you look at Oriental societies, India and all, we have always believed that knowledge is a collective asset, and you could possibly see generative AI pushing us back to that common realization that knowledge is a collective asset and not to be owned by an individual entity or an organization.
Well, that's an interesting thought and something to think about and ponder over. But Rajesh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us here in Davos and making time for us to talk to us about what clients are saying, but more importantly, where TCS is headed. Appreciate you joining us here today. We will take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with a lot more on CNBC-TV18.